A very cold case, California murder, might soon be solved. Officials say they have arrested the suspect in the murder of 22-year-old Lindsay Cutshall and her 26-year-old fiance, Jason Allen, on a beach in Sonoma County back in 2004. Both were shot in the head while they were sleeping on that beach during a camping trip. Joining us now for our legal panel, criminal defense attorney and former head county prosecutor Bob Bianchi and criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Bob, to you first. This case, obviously more than 10 years old. Nobody had any idea who the suspect was until the guy they arrested was also arrested in connection with the murder of his brother just a couple of weeks ago. The authorities have been very tight-lipped. We don't know what they have information-wise, but they indicate that he told them things about the murder of this young couple that nobody else would know.
Yeah, John, as a former homicide prosecutor, I don't understand why it would be that prior to him being charged, because he's not even charged or arrested for this yet, they would take a statement. There are many reasons why people may have information about a crime. There are people who admit and confess to committing crimes that they did not commit. So the sheriff, I found to be very odd, said, oh, he's a suspect, we have the information, he's the guy who did it, but we're not arresting him. We're not charging him. We're going to give it to the prosecutor and let the prosecutor make the call. And I can tell you, when I was the prosecutor making those calls, I would be extremely agitated that law enforcement got ahead of the prosecutorial decision here. This is going to be, in my mind, a rather weak case unless the quality of the confession he gave is so solid and so supported by other evidence that there's no alternative argument. A very odd way to proceed in the beginning of this identifying him as a potential suspect.
Here's the look at the suspect, Sean Gallen. Brian, first of all, what do you think? Do you agree that maybe the police, the investigators, are getting out in front of their skis here?
Well, John, suspicion alone doesn't lead to an arrest or a conviction. And this is a tragic killing, and we all get that, and we want the right person convicted of the crime. But oftentimes, in cold cases, it leads to chaos. It leads to the wrong person being arrested. It leads sometimes to the wrong person being convicted. You can't arrest and convict somebody unless you have credible, reliable evidence. And Bob's right. Absent a voluntary confession, what law enforcement and the prosecution has at this moment, John, is not much. They don't have a weapon. They don't have any physical evidence linking Gallen to the shooting. For example, no shell casings, no DNA transfer, no blood transfer. All they have is a suspicion that he allegedly killed his brother and he had committed another crime. And that's not going to be enough.
But he was picked up and questioned in connection with the case originally, Bob. Also, the murder weapon in this case is a most unusual Marlin rifle. Perhaps there are ballistics evidence that we don't know about yet.
Well, to get to Brian's point and your point, John, they have tried to track down that physical evidence, the weapon, the hat that was recovered with respect to DNA, carvings that were at the scene, a beer bottle. For 13 years, he was a person who had previously been arrested. His DNA and all of his profile information that could make matches to that evidence have been known for 13 years, and they still did not come up with any information to show that there's a connection between those items. And what I find to be extraordinary here is that it's one thing, when I was the head prosecutor, if I had somebody who I suspected of a murder and I believe I had sufficient information, they would be charged and they would be jailed. Here he was being jailed for the allegations of another murder. There was no reason why they had to get out, as you put it, ahead of their skis. They could go slow, deliberate, not make any public statements, give it to the prosecutor, have the prosecutor and the detectives gather as to what they're going to do and move forward. There's something about this that's really, really odd to me, and I have to wonder if they're not saying, we got him solid on this, so why not just throw that other one in, because we always kind of thought he did that.
Well, it's just been a very troubling case. People have wondered what happened to Jason Allen and Lindsay Cutshall, a young Christian couple camped out on the beach, apparently murdered while they slept. We'll continue to keep an eye on it. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, John.